Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Leon Yingzogo, and I am the founder of this Scholarship Insider channel. As the name suggests, I am an insider when it comes to winning scholarships. In my life, I have received 5 different scholarship offers, including a Chevening scholarship offer from the UK government. The latest one I received was a full scholarship offer from the University of Cambridge to study for a master's degree in conservation leadership. Well, I studied in the US for 5 years for my undergraduate degree, and in the process, I met lots of FulBright scholars, not just from my country, from Burma, but all over the world. So I am fairly familiar with this scholarship and the application process. So I produced this 2-part video series on advanced tips and strategies for FulBright scholarship application. This is part 1 of the series, and today I would like to offer my top 5 tips on FulBright scholarship application. But before we do this, I would like to include a little bit information about FulBright scholarship. For those who are not familiar with this scholarship, FulBright scholarship is one of many US cultural exchange programs provided by the US government itself. Depending on the country context, it may provide complete funding, including food, accommodation, travel expenses, and even personal computers for international students who want to study for a master's degree in the US. A master's degree in the US are either 1 or 2 years. A typical expense for a master's degree ranges from $60,000 to $80,000 US dollar per year. So for a student participating in 2 years master's degree, a FulBright scholarship may worth more than $150,000 USD, right? So this scholarship is probably the most well-known scholarship in the world and also among the most prestigious as well. So the competition is usually very, very intense. The spirit of this scholarship is to support students who have little to no experience living or studying in the US to get an opportunity to study there. But this scholarship is not a no-string-attached type of free funding. In fact, it comes with one very important mandatory condition, which is 2 years service obligation. What does that mean? It means upon the completion of the degree, the recipient must return to their home country and sacrifice 2 years of their lives to work for their home country and community development. So, if you are someone whose sole ambition is to study in the US, get a job there, and settle your family in the US, this scholarship is not for you. This is because it comes with the condition that your family member won't be able to get entry visa to the US while you are studying in the US. They won't be able to visit you while you are there. And besides, it will also exclude you from visiting the US for a further 2 years upon the completion of your degree. Now that you are fairly familiar with what this scholarship is about, I will dive deep into the application strategies and offer my top 5 insider tips to get this scholarship. My number 1 and the most important tip for FulBright scholarship application is get everything correct on the application form. Well, it sounds like a very simple thing, but it also happened to be something that people tend to get very, very sloppy. I have reviewed many scholarship application forms, and you wouldn't believe how many people make mistakes on them. You need to understand that nobody would give you a 150,000 word of scholarship if you can't even fill out an application form correctly. It's just unacceptably incompetent. But getting everything right is not an easy task either. There are altogether 43 questions on the application form, and that includes your personal statement and study objectives too. There are also specific instructions on the front page and throw the form on what they expect you to answer specific questions. So read every single word carefully and don't make careless mistakes, especially spelling and grammar mistakes. They are usually the worst kind and they will cost you dearly. Better safe than sorry. Don't make mistakes, but at the same time, also don't try to sound super smart either. Don't do things like inventing vocabularies because this kind of thing can backfire you spectacularly. For instance, some trending words like philanthropreneur or supertasker do not exist in English dictionary. You never know who or how many people are going to review your essays, so don't take it for granted that every single one of them will understand or even pretend to understand what you mean because you sound smart. So don't use vex, use fascination, use standard English in your application form. My tip number 2 is about the most important question on the FulBright Scholarship application form. There are altogether 43 questions on the application form. Which one do you think is the most important? Is it question number 28, your study objectives? Or is it your question number 29, your personal statement? Or question number 30, your CV and professional resume? Well, there is one question that is more important than the above 3 questions. That is question number 13, your future plan. Why? Well, there is a legitimate reasoning behind why this question is the key question in winning FulBright scholarships. As I mentioned earlier, the spirit of this scholarship is for the US government to help developing nations by educating community leaders in the US and then make them return to their home country and then help with the community development. It really doesn't matter if you have perfect GPA or you have great professional achievements at work. The scholarship is not for the smartest applicant. It's for someone who wants to sacrifice 2 years of his or her life for community development in their home country. There are always people who just want to go to get money to study in the US, get a good job, bring their family there, and settle there forever. If you are this kind of person, you will be daydreaming about how much money you can possibly earn with a degree from the US. You wouldn't think long and hard how you could contribute back to your own country. So, from the viewpoint of FulBright Scholarship Committee, this question, asking your specific future plan upon your return to your home country, is the key question where they can separate wheat from chaff. Tip number 3 has to do with your resume or your CV. Question 30 says you need to provide either a professional resume or an academic CV. But I'm going to give you an insider tip. Ideally, you would like to provide an academic CV and not a professional resume. Why? Because here you are applying for a scholarship to study abroad. You are not applying for a job. So it needs to be an academic CV and not a professional resume. Like this one here is saying, I am applying for a job. Don't make this kind of careless mistakes. Academic CV is different from a professional resume because it focuses more on your academic aptitude and less on your work experience. The industry standard is that the shorter one will be preferred over the longer ones. Whatever you provide, you should keep it within 2 pages for a resume and between 3 to 4 pages for a CV. CV writing is a skill in itself and is beyond the scope of this video. So if you don't know how to do it, attend a workshop or consult an academic expert who can help you with it. My tip number 4 has to do with a certain requirement that you absolutely need to have to win this scholarship. That is leadership. There is nothing in the application form saying you need to have leadership. They don't ask about it in your personal statement. There is no question asking specifically about your leadership skills. Because of that, I have some first-time applicants saying that I don't need to have need to be some sort of leader to win this scholarship. I just need to have some good grades. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I have met many Fulbright scholars, not only from my home country, from Burma, but also from other countries around the world while I was studying in the US. And what is one thing that all of them have in common? Yes, they have some accomplishments to show their leadership potential. Here, don't confuse a leader with a manager, right? When I ask some prospective scholarship applicants about their leadership experience, some said, I am a manager at work. Okay, a manager is not necessarily a leader. Manager is your job title. It can be taken away from you if you change jobs. But if you accomplish something as a leader, it can't be taken away from you. There is a saying, managers do things right. Leaders do the right thing. Managers pay money to their employees to do their bidding. Leaders convince their followers to their way of thinking. Know the difference between the two. Leadership is usually a litmus test for this kind of highly competitive scholarships. You can get a good grade in GRE if you study hard enough. But leadership skills are something that is more difficult to develop than getting a good GPA. I have never seen any Fulbright scholar who doesn't have any type of leadership in something. This scholarship is for leaders, not for followers. But they don't ask for it. You need to understand it and you need to show it. This is precisely where you can get ahead of your competitions. Okay, there is a question. What if you don't have any notable leadership experience? Well, I suggest you get it first and apply next year. This is because if you apply this year and do not win this year, you will be at a disadvantage when you apply next year. How? When you apply, your name will go into their database. When you apply next year, the first thing the scholarship committee will do is to check what was your biggest weakness the previous year. So if you start with a bad impression, why others, the first-time applicants, start with a blank slate? You need to have a commendable achievement within this 1 year time frame to overcome the hole that you dug the previous year. My last and final tip number 5, has to do with letter of reference. Recommendations can generally fall into two categories, academic and professional, and you need to present both for these scholarships. Why? Because there are two sides to these scholarships. First, you need to get admission from the university to study towards a master's degree. So you need an academic reference to show that you have academic aptitude to study in the US. Second, the US government wants you to go back to your country and contribute for community development when you finish your degree. So they judge your potential by reading your professional reference. People who just finished their undergraduate degree, who came fresh out of college, cannot apply for this scholarship because this scholarship specifically asks for work experience. So if you have some work experience, you should be able to convince someone from work or someone that you have ever worked with, your client, to vouch for you to win these scholarships. Now, you have one academic reference and one professional reference. But how about the third one? You need to present 3 letters of reference. Should it be an academic one or a professional one? For people who have studied for a long time, would offer academic reference. And those who have a long history of work experience would offer a professional one. However, my recommendation is to find someone who can comment on both aspects. Why? It will add a second opinion on your existing one professional and one academic reference. But where do I find this kind of person? Well, it's actually not that difficult to find one. If you are a diligent student and you go and take a class from a professor and you develop a good relationship with this professor during your undergraduate years, you could volunteer in his research. And that professor can comment on both aspects of your academic as well as your professional experience. So, these are my top 5 tips for FulBright Scholarship application. This is part 1 of my 2-part video series on this scholarship. In this video, I put myself in the shoes of scholarship committee and provided my insider insights on where the committee is going to scrutinize your application very closely. However, you can't just win a scholarship without getting admission from a university. So you also think like a university admission officer. For this reason, in the part 2 of my video series, I will invite Dr. Karen Park from the University of Pittsburgh. Dr. Park has an experience of reviewing FulBright scholars as part of our postgraduate admission duties in her university. So stay tuned and I will see you around. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe so that you won't miss out on my tips on scholarship applications.